Do you hate paraphrasing? So many students find paraphrasing really difficult. It's all about really building up a group of techniques that's going to help you in different situations when you get different question types. My name's Phil. I'm the head trainer at One-to-One IELTS. I've been teaching IELTS for over 10 years. I've worked for the British Council. I've been an examiner. And today, I'm going to help you improve your writing. So the first mistake a lot of students make when they're paraphrasing, they have a sentence and they just try and swap out the words. And I'm sure you've been in that situation. You're just like, okay, what is a synonym for this? What is a synonym for this? While finding synonyms is really important when you're paraphrasing, it's certainly not the first step you should be taking. And if you do take it as your first step, it's actually going to make it really difficult to paraphrase a lot of sentences. What we need to look at to start with is how we can change the sentence structure. Today's lesson, I'm going to show you a little technique that I call swap and disagree.
Right, so let's have a look at how this technique actually works. So the technique works really well when our question statement has two contradicting views. That means the views in the question statement are different. They do not agree with themselves. Here is an example that we're going to have a look at today. This question says, some feel governments should invest in preserving minority languages, while others feel this is not a good use of resources. You can see I've highlighted the word while here. Now, this is a conjunction of contrast, and it shows that you have two different views. So already this is looking like it could work for this technique. Now, I'm going to break down the different parts of the sentence so everybody knows what I'm talking about. This is clause 1, the first clause. This is an independent clause. And this is clause 2. This is a dependent clause. And we can see this word this. This is a referencing word. And this referencing word is referring to invest in preserving minority languages, that section in the previous sentence. So we can see that we have two clauses. Both of these clauses are expressing different views, and there is a referencing word in the second clause.
First step, you guessed it, we're going to swap something around. So basically, we've got two clauses here, and we're going to change the order of the clauses. Super easy, anyone can do this, but immediately you are starting to change the structure of your sentence.
Okay, so here we go. Step 1, swap clause 1 with clause 2. We can see clause 1 here in the blue letters, and clause 2 is in the red letters. We can hit the magic button, and now you see we have clause 2 in red at the top and clause 1 in the blue at the bottom. So we have swapped our clauses. Okay, so we've swapped everything over. Now we're going to move on to step number 2, and we're going to make sure that our referencing words actually make sense. So once we've swapped these over, we'll notice we've got a couple of referencing words. Now, when you swap one clause for another clause, there are often words in the second clause which were referring to words in the first clause. And once you swap them around, it no longer makes any sense to have these referencing words in your new first clause. So if we look at our first clause now, it says, while others feel this is not a good use of resources. So we've got two referencing words here. We've got others, so other people, but we don't know who they're other to. And we've got this idea of this. So to fix the problem with other people, we simply just need to put while some people. And now this makes perfect sense. The slightly trickier referencing word here is this. And this is really the key to understanding this technique, because when we look at this, we've got to be really sure what this is talking about. So what is not a good use of resources? Now, if we look in our second clause, the answer is there. It looks like investing in preserving minority languages is not a good use of resources. And we've also got to remember that it's governments who are doing the investing. So what we're going to do, this is very much just copy and paste still. Don't worry about synonyms, that comes later. So instead of this, I'm using governments investing in preserving minority languages is not a good use of resources.
Right, so now it's time to move on to the next step. And you guessed it, we're basically going to disagree, and this part is super easy because we're really just going to say that another group of people disagree with the first few. Let's have a look at this example and let's see how it works in practice.
If we look at these two clauses at the moment, they look really repetitive. The first one was talking about governments investing in preserving minority languages, and the second one is also talking about governments should invest in preserving minority languages. This is super repetitive, and this does not look like a well-structured sentence. And this is the beautiful trick here. The idea in one is just simply disagreeing with the idea in two. All we do is replace the second clause with the words others disagree. And here you see, we actually have a really well paraphrased sentence, and we still haven't actually touched the synonyms yet. Therefore, we're going to go step 4, but we're looking for easy synonyms. We're not trying to push our vocabulary too far. We're just going to use words that we understand 100%. And after we finish the step, our paraphrase will be ready. So the first word that we come across is while. Now, this is a very common word that comes up in many task 2 essays. We can simply swap out while for although. Let's have a look at another very, very common expression, this some people. So some can be swapped out for certain, and people, individuals. So now we've got all those certain individuals. Then we've got feel. Again, feel is a really common word. We can swap this out for believe. The next thing that we're looking at here, we've got governments investing in. If you're not really sure of a synonym here, you could always just keep the original. I happen to know that governments investing in would be the same as writing government spending on. In my vocabulary, I understand this. I know this is 100% correct. If you know it's 100% correct, you can use it. Otherwise, just use the original, because we've already changed the sentence structure so much. If there are words that you're not really sure about paraphrasing, it doesn't matter. As we've changed the sentence structure so much, we can just keep the originals. The next word we're going to have a look at is preserving. I thought here we could change preserving for the preservation of. Then we've got minority. So a minority language is a less spoken language. If something is not good, we could say bad or poor. And here it talks about a poor use of resources. The resources we're referring to here are government spending. So spending, those resources are simply money. And then when we get to the part where it says others disagree, we came up with this language, so we don't actually need to paraphrase that at all. And that's it. So the very last step is we need to quickly read through it and make sure that this makes sense and has exactly the same meaning as the original. Our paraphrase says, although certain individuals believe government spending on the preservation of the less spoken languages is a poor use of money, others disagree. This has exactly the same meaning as the original, and we've come up with a really interesting and unique way of paraphrasing this sentence.
I really hope you found today's lesson useful. Please try this in your own writing. Don't forget to hit the like button if you found this useful in any way, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any other really useful content, which is going to help you get the scores that you need in your IELTS test. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next lesson.